Hey, hello to Dr. Pepe Marais. It's so funny that you're a doctor. Not that there's anything wrong with being a doctor.
Not a medical doctor.
Not a medical doctor. My name is Khaya Dlanga, so I need to introduce myself, I guess. And Dr. Pepe Marais is the founder of an incredible agency called Joe Public. And Joe Public I had to check this because I wanted to make sure that I was correct, that it's one of the most awarded agencies. If I'm not mistaken, it's the largest independent agency in the country, or maybe on the continent, I imagine. I think so. Okay.
I'll go with you.
and they've been Agency of the Year at the Lourdes, okay, in 2018, 2019, 2020, 2024, 2025, right? And I feel like I'm skipping one or two.
You're skipping two, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, the success of this agency is unbelievable. But also, you just haven't won Agency of the Year, but the brands you work on have also won Brand of the Year, and it's also shown like in their sales. And we are going to talk about your book, which is One Word. So please welcome Dr. Pepe Marais to the studio. How do you feel about your book?
I'm feeling quite great that you're interviewing me, Khaya. Knowing who you are. Don't know if people know who you are. They should Google.
Actually, let me tell you a story. Like many years ago, I actually I wrote about this in one of my books, but I'll just jog your memory. But many years ago, Pepe actually interviewed me for a job, and I think that. I think one of the reasons I think I didn't take the role was because Coke had actually just also was talking to me, and the role that you interviewed me for, there was someone else, another creative director, was in the room, and I'll never forget the question she asked me. She said, "Are you a hard worker?" Asking me this question, and then I said, "No, I'm not a hard worker." So she was horrified when she saw me say this. And so she got so mad at me, and she said, "Why are you wasting your time? Why are you in this room then for this interview?" and all of that. And you did something quite remarkable, because you instead of being upset, you said, actually, you were very curious. Like you said to actually, no, I'm actually very interested. I want to know why he says that he's not a hard worker. Maybe there's something that we're not understanding about why he's saying this. And you said, and then I responded and I said, well, the reason I say that I am not a hard worker, if I were to work on a job that is really interesting, that's got me going until 3 or 4 in the morning, that is challenging my mind, that is not hard work for me. But if I'm working on something really mundane for 5 minutes and it's not interesting to me at all, that is hard work. And that's what that was my response to you. And you're like, wow, that's
that's a good answer.
And then I remember I was like, geez, I like this guy, because you didn't stop at that one point, because that's very easy to kind of leave to leave me as a lazy guy. And not
Thanks
trying
for
to
that, Khaya.
understand.
That's a long time ago. Eh?
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
That's a long time
It's
ago.
a very long time ago. It's probably 2000 and I was at Coke 2010.
Must have been 2008.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Around
Yes.
there. 2008, 9 must be.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Yo, we're getting old.
So
Older.
That's
awesome.
There's something that I actually wanted to start off this to kick it off with. I want to know what these words conjure up with you. Epistemology, ontology, methodology, axiology.
So that's so funny. I was driving here and I was thinking about that again.
Yeah.
Because the doctoral journey was followed through a 25-year plan that I wrote in 2007 towards 2032. So I had a very clear plan. And it wasn't on my plan to go into academia, but I really wanted to take a step towards my vision. And my vision includes purpose for South Africa. I mean, that's my dream. Whether it happens or not doesn't matter, because I live every day towards that dream, so it makes it exciting. And if it doesn't happen, so be it. But if it does, that will be quite amazing. And I did it just to be credible in this field. So I did some work for a big bank, and when they heard that I've got a degree in it, it made it more believable that I'm an expert. So that's the only reason I did it. So those words, those are all part of the journey of writing a thesis, and they scared the living hell out of me. I don't remember what half of them means. But that chapter, methodology chapter, chapter 3, is the toughest thing, second to... Yeah, it's not tough raising a child. It's tough raising a business, and it's really tough writing a thesis.
I can only imagine how. I mean, because I remember reading about how you spoke to your what's the person who guides it to your
supervisor.
PhD? Your supervisor.
Doctor.
Doctor. That was hilarious.
Yeah.
Because
5 doctorals.
I don't understand.
3 PhDs, 2 DBMs. I'm like, why?
I don't understand how you could do that. And I mean, I don't know how I've managed to write like a book, let alone a page. So, but then I don't understand a PhD because I don't think I'm academically inclined.
You'd be surprised. Let me just tell you. I think creative people, so not all credit, some credit to me, but most to him.
Yeah.
Because I found him, and he supervises across many institutes. I was worried I wanted to do quality work. He helped a lot, I tell you now. He took me under his wing and he helped a lot. Because I just said, look, I just want to do this to have credibility.
Yes.
But I also, when I pour myself into a piece of work, I wanted to be not significant, but substantial.
Yeah, and it's got to be credible and meaningful.
It has to be credible and meaningful, and make sense. And it was such an incredible journey. I'm going to do another one when my son's finished with wherever he's going in the world. I'm going to definitely do a PhD in psychology, which means I'll have to start from scratch.
Oh my goodness! You've become an addict.
No, but the level of learning.
Yes. That's what I mean.
Is very significant.
That's what you've become.
I don't know what it is, but there's something about knowledge is not power. Implementing knowledge is power. But without the knowledge, you have nothing to implement. So I'm very interested in psychology now.
Yeah. Okay. Which then I think makes a lot of sense when I think about the book, because if there's one thing, one common thread, so the title of the book, let me just show. The title of the book is one word. And it's the power of simplicity in a complex business world. And the one thing, if I could say one word, right, that I got out of the book, and I hope this was the intention, it is purpose, right? And it is, is purpose so meaningful and profound for you to such an extent that you felt like this is a message that should go out into the world and to people, and specifically into business. Why was this so important to you?
So it's going to be very interesting. 2% of people will resonate with it. And I saw it last week at the conference as well. People really resonate with the subject matter. So 2 in 100. But only 2% of the 2% has the resilience. Is it have or has? The resilience to implement that knowledge. So that's 2,500. So I wrote somewhere in the book, I'll have to sell 2,500 to reach one person. So it's because it's so difficult to see the significance of it that it's difficult to prove.
Yeah.
So it happened. I worked very, 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 very hard from the age on everything, not just the things I love. The Afrikaans thing. Yeah. But from the age of 12. And I was always a good person, but my intention was to make money. When I started Joe, the back of my head was, I want to make money through this beautiful thing called creative advertising, creativity. But that resulted in bankruptcy. So my logic, it didn't add up. Effort over time plus pretty good person, so good intentions. But the ultimate intention was to make money equals bankruptcy. And I found I was in a really, really, on all levels of my life, in a not a good place at 38, 39. So that's a long time. So going into 40s with nothing. So business, no financial return out of the business. X was actually already with us at that time. He was there for like 6 months. Yeah. It was crazy times. Marriage falling apart, unhealthy. And even my little giving to an AIDS orphanage was done very selfishly, because I did it because my internal assumption was I'm not good enough. But it was deeply internal. External, no one would see that. They'll go like, he's such a cool guy, but internal, I was really not in a good place. And I did a transformational workshop out of desperation almost. And because I paid for it, because normally when I pay for something, I finish it. I do not waste money. I spend money easily, and I love beautiful things. So I will spend money, but I will never waste money. So I insisted on finishing that work for 5 days, and 2 weeks later, another 5 days. I insisted. I was not going to, and I got this amazing insight on life through this experience, and it was an experience. But what I did, what I think what most people don't do, is I went out of it, because it's just a workshop, and I implemented it. And I saw almost not able to describe the shift in my output based on just the inner shift on my intention. Unbelievable shift in my manifestation power, and I got interested in that. And that is linked to understanding your purpose for being on the planet, and also linking into your beingness. And I brought that thinking into Joe Public, and it took a bankrupt business into what it's become today. And I know it is very far from what it's meant to be. So I've got a very deep belief in this approach, because I've had such a cellular experience of it.
Yeah, because it seems like it was quite a an experience for you, and because there's a part where you talk about how about like how you didn't feel good enough, right? But what I also found quite interesting, there's a line here that says, "My deep-seated belief that I wasn't good enough became the invisible force propelling me forward." Because it's interesting, because not feeling good enough can do one of two things, right? It can either, propel you, right? Either negatively, positively. You could become a destructive force, or if I were to, because I do imagine, I hate to mention Donald Trump, I wonder if, part of what propels him is that he also doesn't feel good enough, and therefore he has to have this very tough guy appearances like all the time, which is something that could be propelling him, in a way.
Hundreds.
So I want to find out how did you then find this propelling force propelling you towards goodness and purpose?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. So this is why I want to get into psychology now, because now I'm starting to dabble in stuff that people package as psychology, and because I'm not positioned with it, because I'm not learned in it as a field, it's like, okay, now you're making assumptions. But in my experience, childhood trauma from age 0 to 7 fundamentally creates who you become in adulthood. Now, people always misconstrue trauma must be like really bad things. So I had some pretty hectic things in my childhood in that period of my life. But there's also little things. So, for example, if a child cries at the age of, say, 6 or 7, 8 months, and the mum doesn't come quick enough, or the dad doesn't come quick enough, they don't get a response quick enough, that's trauma. And that child will in adulthood respond to either become overly independent or overly needy. So I also wrote a little bit about that in the book, and both of those are not healthy, because life is about having balance between the two. So being 100% the one or 100% the other is not healthy. So trauma can be very subtle and it can be deep. So the trauma creates these intense inner feelings, and there's multiple, it's just words, but the I'm not good enough is quite a generic one. But that thing can drive you, because that's what drove me to succeed initially. Because if I'm not good enough, before Joe, I was the top creative in the country in our industry as an art director in 1 year. But again, looking back, that was the grace of the environment I was in. Because I just went from another agency that wasn't creative to a creative agency, and suddenly I blossomed. So it's not just me. But what drove me in that environment to really outwork the others, and I had some of the smarts, was, well, I don't feel good enough, so I'm going to show you that I'm good enough. So it's got a positive, but it's got a ceiling. The insight of the purpose unlocked the other side of that narrative, because the narrative is negative on the one side, but when you unlock it, the opposite is really positive.
Yeah.
That's all that shifted.
You know, like, because you mentioned a friend of yours that you had dinner with, like the one time, great businessman, and he's highly financially successful, and yet he said that he'd lost the will to live, right? And therefore, even though you can have all of the success in the world, right? And I suppose this is why you talk so much about purpose. Is that if that is lacking, but also what also drove him towards that was because his father kept saying that he was useless when I was a young boy, right? And so I suppose if part of the reason you want to succeed is that I will show you, right? Because now it's got nothing to do with you. It's got to do showing, everybody 100%. Else to see how, look at me, I'm a big boy, rather than, okay, it's got to build the kind of person that I am, rather than what I come across as.
That's it. So then now he becomes wealthy by life's measure of what wealth is, but inside himself he's still a little boy who's feeling useless. So now he loses the will, and that's the real factual story. And I could have empathy and resonate with it because I've grown through that. So I could have stuck to my guns and be from outside assumed to be this happy, crazy guy. But it's all just pretense, because inside myself, inside I'm not feeling good about myself, which of course I've now put to bed, and it's liberating to be at ease with it. I still have a lot of behaviors that's linked to childhood trauma, so I can still get aggressive, or I can get frustrated, and I can still break people down. So it's something which is counter my purpose. So I'm still working hard on 38 years of conditioning. It's only been 18, 19 years of reconditioning. So I've still got a lot of work to do, but I'm so aware of it now. So when I lose the plot with someone, like yesterday, I had a meeting this morning with one of the women that work for us, and especially as a man on top of it, we had to have a meeting within a day to just settle down, give context to my behavior, apologize, reconstruct our relationship to move forward. So it's not like I'm not this brilliant person yet,
But that... Actually, I want to get into this a little bit later, where you talk about conscious leadership, right? I want to get into, because that what you're talking about now leads me, towards that. But I want to get into something right now that got me to think, as like, I've never thought about this before. And you call, there's a chapter where you call a business a being, right? And a business being, because I was like, this is interesting, because how I've always thought about a being is like a human being. So nothing else can be a being, right? Because about mind, I'm thinking that it's got to have like a moral, standpoint, right? That's what a being is. And it's got to have, it's got to have cells, living and breathing cells. And I was like, but it's got to have a conscience. This is what a being, how would you call a business a being? Please just get into that. Like, why do you call a business a being?
So isn't it? It's like a beautiful thought,
like,
and that is total again, because I think that's what I love. The old philosophy of art is that you're just a vessel, and the genie flows through you. It's not nothing to do with us, but now we've made it as if it's about us. It's not I'm so clever. I just had the opportunity to read an article that Jane Goodall wrote. I mean, incredible. And she said, just like humans are human beings, monkeys are monkey beings. And it was just a thought. It sparked this thought. I thought, like, geez, that's amazing. So my dogs are dog beings. That's an interesting thought. And my very next thought was, a business must be a business being. So I thought, geez, Joe Public is a being. And then I started reflecting on my relationship with my own flesh and bone child, a human being. And emotionally my connection, and I started reflecting on my connection with my second child, my bricks and mortar child. And later on through my journey a few years ago, I started thinking, but But if we put it within a context of religion that speaks about the body being made from clay, I thought, but bricks are made from clay. So all these things started crossing over. And then I started thinking about when I experienced culture within a business, the bricks and the mortar is like the skin in the body. And inside of it, you've got all these people that creates an energy collectively. So it all started, I really started buying into this idea. And then on top of that, I started thinking, oh, that's interesting, because my experience is we don't really, when I started business to make money, I ended up in bankruptcy. But when I started doing business with the intention of serving the growth of our people and our clients and our country, and the intention became far purer than just wanting to make money, the business started to make money. So that's why I started overlapping those. And it's a complete, according to the writing, it's a hypothesis, but to me it's a belief. So I'm hammering, and I'm looking at the amount of entrepreneurs that fail, and I'm trying, this is going out to try and say, like, let's try to do business in a different way.
Well, I mean, okay, I'm going to have to jump to my other question now, because, there's a section where you talk about, where you kind of, there's some evidence, which was very interesting to me, that businesses that have a purpose, but a lived purpose, rather than one that is just plugged on it, it's a little nice poster and something that the leaders will mention every now and then to rally the troops, but there's no inherent, execution, I think, of that purpose. That give me like some of those numbers about how much more successful those businesses are compared to business that do not serve purpose. And what I'm curious about is, if the evidence shows that those businesses become more successful, why is it that not more business leaders are not really grappling with purpose?
It's a great question. So I can't, so up to 3 times more profitable, even more, outperforming S&P 500 by significant levels. I mean, John Mackey wrote a book, Conscious Capitalism, on it, Firms of Endearment. I found so many McKinsey studies. So I can't verbatim, but significantly
it is quite
outperforming on all levels. Engagement globally.
Okay, here is it. Here is
mention a few.
I've got it.
Mention a few.
So a 2021 study published by Harvard Business Review, and I always do this, I call it Business Harvard Review, but it's the other way around, right? Purpose-led companies achieved greater global expansion, 6% compared with 48%. More successful product launches, 56% compared with 33%. And higher success rates in major transformation efforts, 52% compared with 16%, ultimately resulting in significant financial growth.
Yeah.
So you would think that if you see something like this, that you'd want to implement it as part of your business, because ultimately you all want your business to grow.
Yeah.
And what I found quite interesting was when a majority of business people, which is, I think maybe the number was even 80%, when they asked what is your purpose as a business, and about 80% of them say profit, and they can't define what the purpose of their business is, like the purpose of the existence of the business.
That's it.
Right?
It's all, I believe it's habit. So if you take me, 38 years of poor behavior, finding my purpose, now I'm reconditioning. So I'm a different human being today than what I was, but I've still got so there's still a lot of habit sitting. So I think we're just in a world that's in a habit that and we really believe that that's why we exist. That's why I write about Milton Friedman in the 70s. Now he won a Nobel Peace Prize. He's I think it was a New York published article. It's the most well-read article in the world. And he advocated the purpose of business is money. So there's an entire, and that is taught in all business schools on top of it. So there's a misunderstanding. I also struggle with, not struggle, but I do question, if I even tell people the amount of money you can make through this as an approach, It's not. It's probably, I suppose, like smoking. It says smoking kills, but you still smoke. So what is it that makes us stick to our old habits if there is a new way? And then what's interesting, Joe Public has a very profound purpose that was created in 2010. We're probably about 280 people in our business. I would say, and this I know for a fact because I recently measured it and I'm working on it again because we had quite an influx of new people coming in. The understanding of our purpose, just cognitively, is sitting at 1 in 5. Now, the understanding is like probably 1% of the real thing. It has to sink into you, deep into you to really believe it. That's probably sitting at 1%, 1 in 100, maybe 2%. Let's say 5%. Now, on 5%, it has propelled us to become quite significant in our industry. Imagine what we can do if we can get that 5% to 10% or 20%. And that excites me because then I'm going like, geez, we could definitely represent Africa and South Africa globally significantly if we can switch all our people on. So then I started working with people in the business to help them construct what they stand for. Not as deep a process what I went through, but with all my learning trying to help. And so it's like Joe Public's an experiment to see. And hopefully when or if and when we become more significant, hopefully that will give these words more weight. That's actually the intention. So it's nothing to do with winning awards and all this nonsense. It's more about giving our words more weight because people are very likely to listen to if you really become significant.
That is very true because I think it's the nature of beings where we feel that because if, let's say, my uncle in the rural Eastern Cape says you can, like Steve Jobs said that you can only connect the dots looking backwards. Maybe it's not as meaningful to me because I just my uncle from the Eastern Cape than if Steve Jobs says the same thing because of how you view him as a person,
100%.
right? It's interesting. And then this takes me to David Packard, who actually was interesting because Steve Jobs actually talks about him in his quite a lot about his success. And this is a quote that you put in here in a speech he made in 1960. And it says, I want to discuss why a company exists in the first place. In other words, why are we here? I believe many people erroneously assume that a company exists simply to generate profit. While financial success is indeed an important outcome, we must delve deeper into to uncover our true reason for being, purpose, which should endure for at least a century, must not be conflated with specific goals or business strategies, which might evolve numerous times over that period. Whereas one might achieve a goal or execute a strategy, one cannot fulfill a purpose. It resembles a guiding star on the horizon, perpetually pursued, yet never reached. Nevertheless, although purpose itself remains constant, it catalyzes change. The very fact that purpose can never be fully realized means that an organization must continually stimulate progress and innovation.
Amazing, eh? In the 60s.
In the 60s.
That is what's and then that's linked to what is actually speaking to is sustainability. Because in the Western world, the average lifespan of a business, has reduced in the past 50 years from 75 years to 15 years.
15,
I think it's 1.5 or 1.7. 15 or 7, one of the two. It's I put it in there as well. I found that too. And that I found multiple studies. So it's 15 to 17 years. And that's completely linked to short-termism because we plan for the next quarter, not the next quarter century. And also we churn leadership in businesses once they get corporatized. And every time a new leader comes in, there's nothing to build on because the other one doesn't leave anything behind. They leave a financial spreadsheet behind. But if you can find the beingness of the business, like Woolworths in South Africa, then the next leadership know what they're building on forever.
Yeah.
And the idea to actually, because a business does outlive us. It's the being that can go beyond us. And I think what a beautiful potential for a brand like Joe Public, as an example, to potentially be here in 150 years' time. And if it has this clarity for the next team to take forward, and then the next team to take forward, and I think it's never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing about consciousness is it's like this. The more you know less. Because you just keep on, your thinking just expands. So technically you almost feel like you're going backwards.
Mm.
So I don't think it's a never-ending journey. It's a never-ending journey of growth. And that really excites me. So when I go, we're probably at 2%. And if I want to be kind, I will say 5%. That's not a negative indictment on people in a business. It shows to me the huge potential. Because there's 95%. And then that 95% in 50 years might be like 2,000% because you realize there's so much more we can do.
Yeah. And then I think the question that I have to ask then is, a lot of companies talk about vision, right? And they talk about culture and mission. What is the difference between those three things? And is there a difference?
So yes. So interestingly, in business school, they still speak to the fact that you start a business with a vision. And I relate to that because there was the vision, Joe Public, want to be the best. What inspired that? It was quite selfish. I'm not good enough. I was part of the founding team, so I instigated, we want to be the best. So it wasn't really coming from a place of service. It was coming from a place of selfishness. And what I'm assuming and seeing often when I look at vision statements, they're very self-serving. So one of my other visions in life was to own a yacht. Well, first it went like this: make X amount of million, because now when you come from less, let's not say I come from nothing. I know what's going on in this country. I see it. But from my privileged background where I grew up in, I come from pretty little means. So what do I want? I want money. So it's fundamentally like a incorrect view of how we approach the world. So vision in the absence of purpose is self-serving. But once I found my purpose, my vision suddenly became about changing education.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Yeah.
Because that's total service. And then beyond that, when I saw that's failing, because I literally for 18 years been working on one school, but when we started, I was hoping to influence 1,000.
Yeah.
So now I've trimmed my vision, but so to me, vision, yes, vision is your long-term dream, your objective. It's probably got a 300-year. If it's the right vision, it should have a longer term than your lifespan. That's vision. But if it's constructed in the absence of purpose, it's most likely going to be selfish. So to me, purpose comes first. That's the foundation of everything. And then vision is your long-term. Things like values create the behavior that you want to go from your purpose towards your vision. And mission, what I found, and I actually write to this thing called mission. Mission is sort of a mix of the whole bunch. It's so they're three different concepts. But I hedge with the starting point, which is why I simplify it to one word.
Yeah.
And you build everything on that foundation.
I mean, there's when you're talking about service, which I think was quite powerful, I was paging through this book and I was trying to figure out where I underlined this, where you make an example where you say that a tree does not grow fruit to fill itself, right? It's in service of others, right? And there's another, example that you make, and I was like, that is so true because, and the tree continues to exist and it continues to produce abundantly, even though it's in service of, other things other than itself.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is actually pretty profound.
Yeah.
It's a very different way of looking, I think, at the world. And again, if you're looking at what you know about Woolies, when Woolies talks about for them is quality, right? That's a service to the customer, because they know that if we give the customers great quality products, they will keep coming back. And because you're not saying let's serve the bottom line. Let's give our customers great quality products.
Service.
And
Add quality to life.
Add quality to life. And what ends up happening is customers will advocate for your product more than, so you end up having to spend less on advertising because the customers are actually talking about your brand.
So I'll never say spend less on advertising. But yes, but just quickly so spot on. And then what they realize, okay, to uphold this level of quality is going to push it into a premium bracket. So then they consciously decide, okay, we'd love to serve our market with this promise, but we cannot deliver on it. So we're going to serve, let's say, X amount of income plus. And I think they consciously also do that because they realize there are other brands that can serve the other sectors, but they're very clear on it. But they definitely, Roy Bagattini did say, it's the invisible glove that holds our business together. Or whether he said it or was the internal, one of the execs said it or someone who, but that's the kind of mantra you pick up. And when I went back to look at the founder, that was in his original intention statement, which I went like, okay, that's interesting. And then he had his son take over the business. So it could inculcate deeper for 2 generations. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I have 2 more questions. I'll ask this one first. Mm-hmm. And what I really want to know is, because you talk about leaders being conscious, right? Conscious leadership. What does that truly really mean, right? And is it the founder, the CEO, or is it about the leadership team itself having that consciousness? And does that also mean this is how you sell or you hire people, right? Like what does it truly mean in order to make that sustainable business? Conscious leadership.
I looked for a long time because it's such a difficult
and how do you measure it?
Idea to contextualize. But the best I found in a book called The Untethering Soul. I think it's called The Untethering Soul. And that resonated to me. Consciousness simply means you know what your own word is at a deep level. You are 100% clear, this is my word. You know exactly what that word means. Because Mark Twain says the difference between the correct word and almost the correct word is the difference between lightning bug and lightning. So constructing what that word means is more important even than, well, the word is the most important, but if you don't give it what it means, and it must be perfect. So you've done that work, you know exactly what it means, and you actively every day living towards it. You're not succeeding, but every day you get up with the awareness that I'm living in this way. So that was the gap I found in my academic research, because PhD, doctorate is about you got to find some new information. An organization can only be as conscious as its leaders. So if you've got Joe Public standing for growth, and the leaders, there's 6 of us, and outside of the 6 of us, there's another 10. And outside of them, there's different layers. So from the inside out, we have to collectively, or not actively, each work individually on finding what's my word, how do I live it. If we do that collectively over time, then the business will start delivering on its purpose.
I love this part about the how, right? For me, and the first time I ever encountered it was when I worked at Coke. So at the end of the year, they're doing a KPIs, and literally they would have the what's and the hows. So what did you do to achieve your targets?
Yes.
Let's say you achieved your targets and you hit the line, and it's incredible, right? Like no one was better than you. But then what you measured more on was on how. Did you have integrity? Did you were you bullying other people in order to get what you want? Were you stepping over other human beings? What did you do?
I love that.
So how you achieve it, even if you hit the lights out, your score goes down significantly because of your how or because of your how, because it does not measure up to the values of the organization. I don't know if they still do that, but that's how you are measured, when I was there. But the last thing I want to ask.
I just wanted to say quickly, I'm going to steal that.
Yeah. No,
So that's so amazing why I love these conversations,
Yes,
because there's
yeah.
always something new.
Yeah.
So I'm like, when I get to the car, I'll quickly make a note. I love that.
It was amazing.
Kudos to them. I love that.
In fact, I had to let an agency go because of a how. They had done amazing work, but I had to let them go because of how they did something. Which was hard, but you had to make that decision. Yeah. And anyway, but the one last thing I want to ask you is, what do you want to say that you are not able to say in this podcast?
Sure, that is quite a thing. What would I like to say? That I would just want to say, I'll say my intention, just my intention. Why I write this book and why I wrote the 2 books before this book is not to make money, but it's more with the intention to serve entrepreneurs, because I think there's such a gap to support entrepreneurs in this country in the context of jobs. So my greatest intention would just be to get into that market and for people to test this as a new way of leading in business. And beyond that, if it could start getting traction in the corporate world, because I think it's such an opportunity, because collectively my biggest belief is this country is destined to be a shining example to the world. I really believe that. So this work is all to deliver on that dream.
So thank you. This was great, and I am very sad at how quickly our time has gone.
That was quick.
And our producer is a bit of a terrorist for letting
slave driver
letting us stop during. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks, Khaya.
We could go on all day.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Yeah.